What is going on, everyone? We are back again. It's Friday. You know what that means. I'm joined once again by my classmate Josh from the good old Dan Patrick School of Sportscasting at Full Sail. How's it going, Josh?
Oh, it's going pretty well. I can't complain. Always love joining you to talk recaps, whether it's Raw, SmackDown, in this case, the Royal Rumble.
Yep.
I thought it was a great weekend, a great Raw. I think, outside of some of the things that we'll talk about, I think it went pretty well. So,
Yeah. 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 The Rumble was. I mean, it started out great. The only four matches on the card. Um, I liked everything except the men's Rumble. But that was for one main reason is just because when Omos came back, I just kind of lost all interest in it. But starting with we'll just start with the Rumble. So Bailey winning the women's. I think we both agreed on that one. I think you might have said Becky Lynch, or we were going back and forth. And Earl Cole is here. Hey, girl, how's it going? Thank you for jumping in. Um, yeah, what your thoughts on the women's Rumble to start things off?
so out of the two Rumbles, I definitely enjoyed the women's Rumble the most. I think, like you said, we had Bailey at least in the top four, if not winning it.
Yeah,
And I was a little surprised that Becky went out as early as she did, you know, and how she did. But overall, I'm pretty happy with the result that Bailey won. I think it's setting everything up perfectly for the whole damage control situation. And I think at this point she's paid her dues. It's time to put her back up on top.
yeah, absolutely. She will be on SmackDown tonight. We'll get into the preview for SmackDown tonight as well as go over Raw on Monday. We Yeah, I mean Bailey absolutely deserves it. I don't think there's anyone else on the women's roster in the women's division that deserves it probably more than her. It would have been cool to see Becky win it for a second time or Bianca win it a second time. Um, just it was, I mean, from the surprise returns of Naomi, Jade Cargill's debut, she looked great. Liv Morgan returning, I mean, from top to bottom, it was fantastic. Just Yeah, the woman, it started out great. I like they started the event with that one, and Naomi coming back at two, and then also Natalia coming in at one, and then Liv at 30. They are the only two women on the roster to be in every single women's Royal Rumble.
Oh wow. Yeah, I honestly did not know that. I mean, I just gotten back into the WWE in the last year and a half, but
Yep.
yeah, no, I mean it was just stacked. The comebacks were awesome. Naomi had a huge pop,
Yeah.
and I really love that, you know, she got that moment to just like soak it in right there at the beginning.
Yeah.
As soon as she came in and just, you know, be enjoy being back, kind of like
Yeah.
how they did with how Randy Orton did when he came
Yep.
back on that first Monday Night Raw after Survivor Series. He was like, "I'm gonna enjoy this," and
Yeah.
he did his famous pose on
Yep.
the turnbuckle.
Yep.
So just it started off right and really set the tone for that Rumble match for the women.
Yeah, Earl, I definitely agree. We talked about it whenever I joined the watch along on the Hardcore Sports Network from the watch along with Hunter at Apples and Grapes Media. But yeah, the second half was kind of tailed. Mainly the men's Rumble is where it tailed for me. Also, Facebook user, thanks for jumping in, showing some support. Don't forget to allow StreamYard the permission to show your name so you're not just popping up as Facebook user. Thank you, Earl. Great to have you on this side and kind of see me do my thing for once. Can't wait to join the Raw watch along on Monday. But yeah, I mean the women's Rumble was great from the winner to the returns, debuts, everything about it. and now Liv, I think Liv has to probably be next for next year. I know that's like a while away, but going on to the Fatal Four Way, which I was a little shocked that this one was on second. Roman Reigns versus AJ Styles, LA Knight, and Randy Orton. Roman got the win, pinning AJ. It went about roughly 20 minutes. So, your first thoughts on the what I thought would be, co-main or the main event.
Yeah, I was definitely a little surprised that it was the second match on the card, especially when the third one was Logan Paul and Kevin Owens. That I think that definitely should have been flip flopped.
Yeah.
Overall, I mean, we talked about it in the preview. Not really surprised. Oh no, Roman cheated to win. Solo pulled the ref out.
Yeah.
And broke our hearts for Randy Orton. And I mean, I think we all kind of saw that one coming, whether it's because we know WrestleMania is where he's going to lose it. If we're just being honest, he's not going to lose it at. He's either going to do it at Rumble or at WrestleMania.
Yeah,
and because no one wants to see him lose at Elimination Chamber. Sorry, got tongue tied there. But I mean, that's where he's going to lose it at this point. We're in that season. If you take the belt off him now or at Elimination Chamber, which is the next PLE, it just ruins the hype. It ruins the storyline, and it takes away from WrestleMania, which is already sold out. I mean, I think we all kind of can see what's going to happen with Rome in the next couple of months.
Yeah. So the whole thing of Solo interfering and Roman cheating again, it is there, but also because it's a fatal four-way, there's no disqualifications. So technically, Roman didn't cheat.
Right.
Roman won clean in the moment. Solo did interfere, but it wasn't like he interfered, then Roman won. He interfered, and then he got taken care of with, chairs, whatever. They brought in chairs, whatever. So everyone else was up to things, as Earl would say, as well as Roman. So, but I mean, like I said, I wish they would have had him kind of do the stack pin and kind of show that he's on the level that he says he's on. I didn't mind the match overall. I mean, it went, like I said, about 20 minutes. I think pinning AJ was good, and then it leaves, LA Knight still able to maybe be in the elimination, or not the elimination chamber, but because Earl broke that news earlier this week that the elimination chamber will reportedly be for a shot at Seth Rollins' title at WrestleMania. And yes, WrestleMania will start at 7 with the pre-show at 5. And Stand and Deliver is at 11:30 on Saturday. Going on to the next one. This one went 14 minutes. Logan Paul and Kevin Owens. I thought it was great. They had great chemistry. Definitely would be down to see it again. Also, it came out that Kevin Owens was in that match with a fractured foot. So, your thoughts on the third match of the evening?
Yeah, honestly, I think out of the, while I expected the matches to be flip flopped and that be the number 2 match after the Women's Rumble, it definitely played into that co-main event type match. That was definitely the better match out of the 2, even though it was a fatal 4-way with some big names before that. They had great chemistry. The match flowed well. And man, my heart was broke when Kevin Owens used those brass knuckles, because as soon as he used those knuckles, I was like, oh, he's not going to win.
Yep.
Good guy's not going to win when he cheats.
The ref caught him. Great vision by that ref to see it. Absolutely. I mean, it everything about this match, I think it delivered. So who knows what Logan Paul's next opponent will be. He is also scheduled and promoted to be on SmackDown tonight. So kind of going into what he had posted on Instagram earlier last week, that he's re-signed with the WWE, and he's going to stop treating it like a hobby, and he's going to look to do it more full time, which is fantastic. It'll just, it'll immediately stop and shut down anyone else who still wants to say that, he doesn't deserve to be here or whatever. He why is he a champion? Whatever, blah blah blah. I'm obviously a big Logan Paul fan, and I think it's great to have him at the events more SmackDowns going forward, everything of that. But then we get into calm down, Earl. Calm down, Earl. That's your United States champion you're talking about. But yeah, going from one champion to maybe a future champion. The men's rumble, Cody Rhodes won, and he beat CM Punk, which people were saying that Punk was supposed to win, and when he got hurt, they called an audible. But it's come out that Fightful has confirmed that wasn't the case, that Cody was scheduled to win regardless. I had Cody. I think we both agreed on that one, or Punk, I'm sorry. So your thoughts on the men's rumble?
Well, the men's rumble, I was overall a little disappointed by the lack of surprise entrance.
Yeah.
I do like that Andrade is back. I think that's going to be a major player in the game in WWE. But overall, it was nothing super shocking. It was textbook. I think everybody expected CM Punk and Cody Rhodes to be there at least in the top 4, which I think we predicted.
Yeah.
And really, it could have gone either way. I think they could have gone with CM Punk or Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes would have been a little bit tougher because, there's only 3 other wrestlers in history that have won back-to-back. So, it could have easily played off Cody not winning as, it's tough to win 2 in a row. And, but it sucks to see CM Punk get hurt this early in his return. Hopefully it's not he recovers well and recovers quickly and gets back in the game, because I think he's in the Rumble. That was my first time really seeing him back in the ring at WWE.
That was his return televised match. He had the live house shows with Dom on the holiday tour, but this was his first televised match, and it was 10 years to the day from his last match, which was the Royal Rumble when he left WWE. So full circle moment. But yeah, very, very sad to see him get hurt, in that moment. And 4 to 6 months. So, that probably puts us at like roughly June, I would say.
So maybe a SummerSlam return.
That's what I'm thinking. That's definitely what I'm thinking. Or SummerSlam or Money in the Bank, depending on when they have the timetable of what his return would be. But yeah, the men's rumble, it like you said, no big surprises. It kind of, to me, Earl and I, we talked about this in the watch along that we did. Wasted spots. I thought Karrion Kross and Bobby Lashley, they were in it, and then they got eliminated, and then they started fighting, and then out comes, Authors of Pain and the Profits. It's like, why couldn't we have just put that 6-man tag match on the card and had 5 matches? Make it a pre-show match,
Right.
Like, why? And then JD McDonough, he got eliminated in like 3 seconds. Why was he in there? Earl said earlier in the comments, the McMahon fallout continues. The big news going into the Rumble with all of that was that Slim Jim paused their sponsorship, I guess I should say. Right. And then they ended up being, a sponsor. But Brock Lesnar was then pulled from the Rumble, and seemingly people were going back and forth. Pat McAfee replaced him. Braun Breaker replaced him. And it turns out Braun Breaker was the one that replaced him. So I don't know. What do you think of Braun Breaker and Gunther at WrestleMania for the Intercontinental title?
Well, first of all, I want to say Braun Breaker. I think honestly, without the scandal, the McMahon fallout, all of that, I think Braun Breaker should have been in the Rumble anyway.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
I mean,
yes.
This guy has been absolutely amazing in NXT. I've only seen him in a couple of matches, but the guy's explosive.
Yep.
He can emote, as you know, I've heard people talk about. You know, he's got the facial expressions that just fit. Perfect example when they wasted another spot. Well, I say wasted. It was pretty funny when Pat McAfee came in.
I loved it.
Over the ropes, and he's like,
"Yeah,
huh?
yeah,
You coming?"
yeah.
Like,
yeah.
So, I think he had a great showing in the Rumble, and I think he's a great wrestler overall. I think he's going to do nothing but, impact WWE's roster in a good way. And it's nice to see I grew up with watching the Steiners, Scott Steiner and Rick Steiner. So it's going to be nice to see him kind of continue that legacy and, fill those shoes, because I definitely think he's talented enough to do that. I would love to see a Gunther Braun Breaker match. I think it's going to be absolutely phenomenal. You've got Gunther, who's at almost 600 days.
Yeah, just hit 600. Yep.
Right.
So 600 plus. Yeah, I mean like I said, going forward, my thought is that if Braun was the one that replaced Brock, then going forward, he's going to have the plans that they had for Brock, meaning he's going to work with the Judgment Day, specifically Dom, because Dom was supposed to be the one to eliminate Brock. So I think that was then that they were going to do that match at Elimination Chamber. So Braun and Dom at the Chamber, and then Braun wins, and then boom, Gunther at Mania. I'm here for it. Yeah, I mean the spot with Pat that you said about I enjoyed that, even though Omos was involved. Everyone knows how much I can't stand Omos. When
fair,
I had high hopes for something big to happen because of the one Twitter account said that the main event was going to hit like crack, which it didn't. So I had high hopes that it was going to get better, and then Omos came out, and every high hope I had just went out the window. I mean, another way is, why was Damian Priest in the match when he has Money in the Bank briefcase?
Right.
Between those three, and then Omos, and then Pat getting in and then being eliminating himself in like 30 something seconds, whatever he said. I mean, that was funny. So, yeah, Michael Cole had said that they were talking about it before, and Pat asked how long Cole was in the Rumble for, and he 84 seconds. So then when Pat eliminated himself at 38, I heard Cole say, "I still have the record," or whatever, and
that record still stands.
So I mean, but that was, like I said, that's that's okay to have, and then like going forward, like I can't even make note of who came in where, besides when Omos came in, and then Pat I think was 22, and then from there it's just pretty much a blur. And then when Cody won, the moment of him pointing at the sign and then turning and pointing at Roman was a great touch. Having Seth and Roman both watching from the skyboxes, that was awesome. I do like that. But yeah, Cody, looks like we're gonna find out from both of them tonight. Cody and Bayley both are on SmackDown. Like you said, Andrade gonna go to Raw, and he signed with Raw. Naomi to SmackDown, and then seemingly Braun Breaker is
SmackDown
gonna be on SmackDown. And then Trick Williams and Carmelo Hayes are also scheduled to be at SmackDown tonight. Same with Tiffany Stratton, who she was another big NXT name that was in the Rumble and did fantastic. I know you don't really probably watch much NXT. I don't either. But Tiffany Stratton, have you seen any of her stuff?
I've seen a little bit of her stuff. I know she took the NXT title from Becky.
Yep.
There, she had a very short run with the NXT title, but I think that was really just to put over some NXT, some
Yeah, it was
NXT.
she.
So.
I think she lost it to Becky. They had a feud. She lost it to Becky, and then Becky dropped it to Valkyrie
Oh,
or
okay.
whatever.
Yes.
Whatever her. I don't watch NXT either, but like Tiffy. I mean, I watched Deadline, and she was immediately one of my favorites. That like, okay, I can can't wait for her to get to the main roster. So those call ups are in the works, I guess. I guess Shawn Michaels said that Braun still has work to do in NXT, meaning the Dusty Rhodes, the Dusty Cup finals, I guess. But um, I would assume that all those NXT stars will be on the main roster pretty soon. But yeah, I mean
Oh,
the Rumble,
definitely.
it was what it was. Only 4 matches, which was weird to me, and it still felt like it was a long enough show to you think, okay, 4 matches, it's going to be over in 2.5 hours, but it was, it was,
It's
I
definitely
guess it
three
still was
three
about
plus.
2.5, 3. So, um, your overall grade for the Rumble?
Overall grade for the Rumble, I'd probably say B, maybe a B minus.
B, yeah, B minus. Yeah, that was ballpark about what I was feeling. I mean, if anything, I think that the men's Rumble it was at like a B minus for me, and then because of the men's Rumble just being so anticlimactic, it just dropped it to maybe like a C plus, but same area. So from the Rumble, we go to Monday Night Raw and the fallout of the my one of my favorite events of the year. But the card for Raw was the tag titles against DIY against Judgment Day. Um, I thought DIY definitely, could have. They're ready to be the tag champs, but I also think that they need to split the tag titles. Um, Kofi Kingston and Gunther for the Intercontinental title, and then Jey Uso versus Bronson Reed. Of course, this was kicked off with CM Punk, and then the tag match. But your thoughts on when Punk came out and gave that promo of saying that he's injured, he's out for WrestleMania, and then just everything else that he put into what he came out to say.
So, I mean, everyone knew that CM Punk was going to come out and make an announcement. It had been announced earlier that day that he had injured his tricep and he was going to be out 4 to 6 months. But the thing that I really loved about this promo and what really opened my eyes to what's going on differently in the WWE since Triple H took over, a year ago, a little bit
Yeah,
over maybe, is Drew McIntyre came out and he said, I prayed for this to happen.
yeah,
I wanted you to get injured.
yep,
So the injury was not scripted, right? This is a
yep,
legitimate injury that
yep,
happened in ring. And the fact that Triple H is able to tie in these unexpected real life events into these promos
yep,
and it make it 10 times better because Drew McIntyre, I'm going to be honest, I love him as a heel. I love the direction he's going. So to tie those real life events back into the promo and make it seem like flawless, I think is just, give credit to Triple H for making that happen because I don't think McMahon could have done that.
yeah,
And if he did, it wouldn't be very well. But
not at all.
I think it was just a great way to start that feud for whenever CM Punk comes back. And I don't see him coming back at a Raw. I don't see him coming back at a SmackDown. I see him coming back at a pay-per-view, Money
Yep,
in the Bank or SummerSlam,
yep,
because that's about where the timetable is. I think we talked about earlier.
yep,
I just great. And when CM Punk came back at Survivor Series, I wasn't 100% sold on him, right?
yep,
Because look
yep,
at the history. I'm getting
yep.
there. Still not 100%, but I'm getting there. I'm liking
Yeah.
where they're taking him.
Yeah. Even like you said, while he's injured, and the way that they planted those seeds for Drew and Punk for when he comes back, because I mean, who knows? Drew might win the Chamber and face Seth at WrestleMania and get his moment in front of the fans. Because it's been shown that both his face character and his heel character, that's what they want. They want their moment at WrestleMania, winning a championship in front of fans. And you're right, he's taking this whole heel turn to a new level with everything that he's doing outside of the posting on his Instagram of him doing a killer arm workout. Um, and follow me for more arm workouts or whatever, and then doing a tricep workout. Like it's just everything about it is great. And I'm not the biggest Drew McIntyre fan, especially as of lately, but now I'm starting to get to, okay, maybe with Punk being injured, he could be a very well a good second person to step in, and especially because Rollins is hurt with his knee, Drew can take the title, go into SummerSlam, and Money in the Bank, whatever, depending on what they do with Damian Priest, which clearly they don't have any idea or direction with him or the Money in the Bank contract, because he still has it, and in another 4 months we're coming up on a year. So yeah, I mean, Raw started off great, and then it went into the tag match. Thoughts on the tag titles still being unified, and should they split them? When should they do it? And do the Judgment Day, they keep the Raw titles and then they drop the SmackDown titles on SmackDown, and that's how they do it? Or how do you see them eventually splitting the tag titles?
So do I think they should split them? Absolutely. I am so over this undisputed. We're going to carry 4 belts and we're going to
Yep.
wear them together. And,
Yep.
Look, split them up.
Yep.
SmackDown tag titles, Raw tag titles, or just one set of tag titles in general. And it goes, whoever has them can defend on either show and all the pay-per-views. So, do I think they split them? Absolutely. Do they have any idea how they're going to split them? Absolutely not. They don't. Otherwise, I feel like they would have been split already. DIY, I think they're great. I think they're ready. It's just a matter of figuring out how they're going to split those titles. And really, I think one of the best ways would be to, on one of these premium live events that have 2 nights, aka maybe WrestleMania.
Yeah.
One night for one tag title, another night for the next tag title. But, I think, and with Judgment Day being kind of on the brinks, it's like every other week they're arguing, or, they're at each other's throats, especially with Rhea being on the cover now. And, I think by WrestleMania, that would be a great opportunity for them to, one, lose both titles. And then when they lose both titles, by that point, you should have the breakup of Judgment Day pretty well set if you do it right. And then that could basically be the straw that broke the camel's back. And boom, now we have split tag titles. Okay, let's revamp them a little bit. We've revamped every other championship. Let's revamp these, not so great looking tag belts. And, or you unify them into one tag title and you have them lose them on one night at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
So, but ultimately we got to get rid of the two belts, the undisputed. It's old at this point.
Yeah. I mean, even, Roman got, one belt now, and now it's come out that they're going to drop the whole undisputed WWE Universal. They're dropping that, and it's just solely the WWE Championship. So it's going back to like what you said. Make make it, they can be undisputed. You can call it the undisputed tag titles, but just have one set of belts. And then later down the line, then you just make new titles for the other brand. And I think we're getting there slowly because of the way that they've been putting Nick Aldis and Adam Pearce like butting heads backstage, really zoning in and making it about Raw versus SmackDown, you know, making it a big deal that Andrade signed with Raw, making a big deal that Nick Aldis walked out of the office there on a phone call with Braun Breaker to apparently sign him to SmackDown. Um, and they could wait until the draft at Backlash in France to because I think they do Backlash, and then I think that's whenever after Backlash, that's when they'll start the draft on that following SmackDown, which is how they did it last year, and I think how they've done it previously. But um, definitely, revamping it, like you said, make it the world tag titles, and then make it the WWE tag titles, one on each brand, and bring back the older designs, but like spice them up, make it um, newer, but with an old design like the winged eagle or whatever the tag titles used to look like, similar to the World Heavyweight Championship.
Right.
Going from the men's tag titles in the tag division from there to titles that I never was really a big fan of until now because they're actually booking the women's tag division somewhat decently, and I hate to say that because then at the drop of a hat we can see it go back to what it was. But Zoe Stark and Shayna Baszler beat the former tag champs Piper Niven and Chelsea Green. It was a great. I mean, it was a quick match, but I mean, Chelsea Green has been doing some great stuff since her return. A year ago when she returned to Rumble again. Her work in the Rumble was fantastic. But what are your thoughts on the direction of the women's tag titles and going from Chance and Carter to Damage Control and how that was going to play into them turning on Bayley?
Well, I think I love that the Kabuki Warriors are the women's tag champs, right? Carter and Chance, I think they're a great tag team. They had a great run. Obviously, this feud is going to continue,
Yep.
but I think ultimately, I think the Kabuki Warriors should keep them, should keep the titles. They're just they work well together. They have good
Yeah.
chemistry, and overall, I think they're a great tag team. And I think that's one way where they can kind of lead up into turning on Bayley. I think ultimately the final blow that's going to lead them to turn on Bayley is Bayley is my pick is going to pick Io Sky.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And she's not going to pick Rhea. I don't think she actually thinks she can beat Rhea. I think that's I think that's secretly her plan.
Yeah. Yeah. The way that she said, when Nia came out and she had that, squash with Rhea and then told Bayley, she's hers or whatever. And Bayley said she's going to make her decision on Friday. And they showed Io and she was just like, so, I mean, everything is that this whole angle of Damage Control, is very interesting. And Dakota Kai didn't have a knee brace on Monday night. So her return, soon, hopefully, fingers crossed. And they could, then use her return to make a women's mid-card title. So then she can go win a title. And then boom, everyone in Damage Control is a title holder except Bayley. And then to do that, she would then have to beat Io at WrestleMania, or choose Rhea, which no one's going to beat Rhea, at anytime soon. She's doing great stuff as well. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited for tonight to see what what Bayley chooses, what, Cody, how that is going to go down, because, and we'll get into, previewing SmackDown here when we're done with Raw, but Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns in the same building, they will have a face to face. So, I mean, it's all, everything is go, go, go to WrestleMania, and I'm very excited for it.
Yeah, I think I think with Bayley picking, well, not she hasn't officially picked her, but
Yeah.
with Bayley picking, if she picks Io Sky,
Yeah.
that's going to turn Damage Control has gotten kind of stagnant, right?
Yes.
So what do you do when they get stagnant? You throw the tag titles on the Kabuki Warriors, right?
Yep.
That generates a little excitement. Then you've got Bayley who wins the Rumble. Ooh,
Yep.
there's some more spice to it. Then she takes on Io Sky. She beats Io Sky, takes the women's women's title off Io, and now you've really flipped. You've basically added all this spice to the mix, put a lid on it, and now you're mixing it up, and you get to open it up and see what kind of heat comes off of that bad boy with that
Exactly.
for Damage Control versus Bayley. And who knows? Maybe we see a Bianca Belair come in and help defend Bayley from Damage Control. So a lot of ways they can take this. I really love where they're going with this storyline, and I hope to God she chooses Io Sky.
Yeah. Bianca would be great, especially if they, because Bayley and Bianca, they would still be outnumbered. And I think this is where we were talking about before. This is, how they bring in Sasha back, and we said about it, bring Naomi back as well, but Naomi is already back. And you could do Bianca and Naomi come back and help her, but again, with Dakota still in the picture, depending on who she chooses. Obviously, I think she's going to choose, the Kabuki Warriors, because she will be, their mouthpiece, since they can't really, they don't really have that mic factor yet.
Right.
But then you bring in Jade Cargill with, Naomi and Bianca, and you have two of them feud with the tag titles. And Naomi and Sasha were doing great things with the tag titles up until everything that went down. And I still want Sasha to come back, but it's coming out that she's already signed with AEW, and she will be probably debuting in March. My guess will be Revolution, which I'm excited for that, but just her thinking about her coming back to WWE and what she could then do under Triple H, and his team. It's a lot of fun to think about. And sure, she can go to AEW and then, have her big moment, and then it's just okay. She's going to go up against people that, me and you probably aren't going to know. I mean, I'll know a little bit more because I'm starting to actually watch, Dynamite, and Deonna Purrazzo and Toni Storm. They're great stuff. I'm sure the matches will be great. Saraya and Britt Baker and all those. But it's like, still, I would lean more towards a return in WWE because of the nostalgia factor and just what it could be under Triple H's control.
Well, my thought is, and there's creating memories for AEW, and then there's creating memories and spots for WWE.
Yeah.
Okay. It's on a totally different level when you're making these big spots and you're creating these WWE mega moments, if you will, versus a mega moment in AEW.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like high school or college football versus NFL.
Yeah.
Right? The Super Bowl. It's just bigger.
Yes.
It's got decades and history and tradition and lineage and, changing the industry
Yeah,
over and over and over again, it's different. So, if she's going signed with AEW, good for her. Like you said, working under Triple H, he's everyone that he's brought back has made into a major storyline, and it's been
exactly.
great. So,
Exactly.
it would have been great to see her back, but ultimately she's got to do what's best for her. And if that's
Yeah.
AEW, then so be it, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, AEW, it's only been around for 5 years. So it's still kind of getting that momentum to I mean, it's still competition for WWE, like no doubt. I mean, I watch it. There's some times where I like Dynamite better than I liked Raw and better than I like SmackDown. I don't really watch Collision or Rampage all that much, mainly because normally Saturday I just forget that we have wrestling on Saturdays unless it's a pay per view. Um, but I mean, it is fun to think about her going, to AEW and doing a little bit more than what she did whenever she went to Japan. Because I mean, she showed up to Japan and I was like, okay, cool. I saw it on Twitter, and then after that, I didn't see anything or hear anything again until she got hurt. So it's like it's either AEW or WWE. I think to be at the level where she wants to be and still can be. But also, now that Bayley's won a Rumble, she's the only member of the Four Horsewomen to not win a Royal Rumble. So maybe she signs for 3 years with AEW, and then boom, 4 years from now, she's back at the Rumble and wins it. And then my dream match is the Four Horsewomen at WrestleMania, and whoever wins is the greatest of the Four Horsewomen, obviously, and then the greatest of this generation in the women's division.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting. Obviously, we've got quite a while, but never say never, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Maybe one day. I mean, they open that. Triple H didn't want to say it. They open that forbidden door, right?
Yep. Yep.
With
Silly and
TNA.
stupid.
Um,
Yeah. Jordan Grace was fantastic.
Yeah. So, never say never. Who knows, right? They're competition now, but maybe AEW will wisen up and stop, um, trying to roast them on their show, and maybe they'll be able to actually work together one day.
Yeah. Yeah.
uh,
I mean, just think about how much money that they would make if they were to ever do that. I mean, it's fun to see them go back and forth and like the whole Jinder Mahal thing with Hook, and that was fun. But at the same time, it's like, okay, we're bored of that. We'd rather just see the dream matches, and like, I mean, fans like me and you, yeah, Forbidden Door is cool, but I don't know anyone from Japan, so do I really want to pay $53 to watch people that I don't know put on great matches? Sure, but there's no story behind it, so it's like, why do I care?
right.
And that's a whole nother issue with AEW is their story building to pay-per-views, um, and just the way they do it versus how WWE does it. It's heavy on the storyline and building to the payoff at the premium live events. But going back to the rest of Raw, um, Cody Rhodes then had his promo and was of course interrupted by Seth Rollins, who did that to fill in for the Punk injury and to show why Cody should maybe choose Seth for WrestleMania. And he had a few choice things to say about Roman Reigns and his title. And my favorite part of it was he said, "Do you want the Hogan title or the Dusty title?" Meaning Roman and his never showing up, and his being that he's the workhorse, he's there every night, every day, every pay-per-view, whatever. Um, it I mean, no doubt that Cody wasn't going to choose Rollins. Cody's up 3-0 in their feud. And I don't care to see a fourth match where Cody wins again, and that's how Seth loses his title. So I mean, that was great. It was more of they showed that they do have that respect for each other because of what they did at War Games. But I mean, what are your thoughts on what Seth said about his title, the World Heavyweight title, being the new workhorse title, and how it's still being looked at as a secondary title?
So, first of all, great promo by Seth Rollins. I mean,
Absolutely.
there was emotion into that. He brought in so many good points and just an overall great promo, and Cody was into it. He is not one to hide his emotions, and there was some emotion
Yeah.
in that, like legitimate emotion
Yeah.
when talking about Dusty. But ultimately, and you hit one of the points right there when you were leading into this, is Cody Rhodes is up 3-0 on
Yeah.
Seth Rollins. And one of those is with a torn pec and a steel cage match.
Hell in a Cell.
Yeah. Hell in a Cell. So not even 100% and still beat Seth Rollins. Okay.
Yeah.
Seth Rollins has gotten tremendously better. He has earned his championship without a doubt, is a workhorse champion. His argument about Roman Reigns and the Hogan title and, Roman being a part-timer. Well, if I went and looked it up, and as far as this belt that Seth has, they are not, that it is now a separate lineage from a world heavyweight title of before, the big gold.
Huh.
Right. So this, from what I've got from research, is, so essentially Seth is the first one for this title.
Right.
Right. So, you can call it the workhorse one, but there's only one superstar that's had that. Also, Seth is a perfect example of, you make the championship a workhorse championship, or not a workhorse championship, right? So
yes, exactly.
Cody Rhodes takes that belt from Roman. Guess what he can do? He can change the narrative, right? That he can be the workhorse champion. We've seen it. He's defended on SmackDown tag titles. He's fought on Raw weekly. He can change that narrative by taking this title. And if I'm being honest, the bigger draw is going to be Roman versus Cody.
Yeah. I mean, it gives that feel of, the big fight feel, which is what they're trying to do. They're trying to incorporate more sports based, like UFC, boxing, the fight game into pro wrestling, which I love. I love it. They did a little bit of that as they showed Nia Jax walking into the Rumble, Cody Rhodes when he arrived, all that type of stuff. Yeah, Cody Roman 2 at WrestleMania is way bigger than Cody and Seth 4, which it would still be a great match. It would still be a good story because Cody and Seth had their first meeting at WrestleMania, and now where Seth didn't even know that he was going to be on the show, and then he got the match not knowing it was Cody, and then going the rest of the way to the next year he gets a win at WrestleMania, and then now he's a champion at WrestleMania. So the story could be there, and people were like, "Oh, well, Cody's story is just about him winning a title." No, it's about winning the title that Dusty didn't win or won or whatever, however that goes, which is the WWE title, meaning Roman's title. So it kind of has to be Roman, as well as because he said, in the promo last year that he was the kid that Dusty always wanted, and Cody was the one that he had, or however he said it. Yeah, I can't wait for SmackDown tonight and Cody to make his choice and the face to face and the build going forward.
Now, the only way and only reason I could see Cody picking Seth Rollins. I know I said he's going to pick Roman, and that's the bigger draw, right?
Yes.
Is now that CM Punk's out of the picture, now you've got Seth Rollins, who will be back at WrestleMania, and you got Roman Reigns.
Mm-hmm.
You also have The Rock that just said he's going to take a seat at the head of the table. So if you pit Rhodes versus Rollins, that opens up for Rock versus Roman.
Exactly. And I would love it just because I've never gotten to see The Rock, wrestle besides like watching stuff back. And I would just love it because of the story that could go deeper with the bloodline, and it could send Roman over the edge, and he could then, lock in on, what he can do as an actor and how he can show that emotion in the storytelling and everything that the bloodline has done to boil over to this one point. And then it also brings The Rock back to kind of see what he can do. A lot of people don't like it and don't want it. I think it would be great because of the build to it. And then the match, obviously would be one of the best matches of Roman's title run. And it would just make the bloodline story. It would give it a refresher, and then who knows where they go after that, to maybe Solo and Roman can have a one-off or two, or Jimmy Uso finally gets, a title shot, because I mean, Jay has gotten multiple title shots against Roman, and Jimmy hasn't gotten that chance. Going off of that, Jey Uso and Bronson Reed. Jey Uso is over, and it's Jey Uso versus Gunther at WrestleMania for the Intercontinental title. I would love it.
Yeah, I mean,
go ahead.
Anything Jey Uso's in has been, just a hit, absolute hit.
Yes.
I love the Bronson Reed Jey Uso match. That was great. I love that he won. Kind of had a feeling he was going to win, but a Gunther versus Jay, that would be an absolute. That would be one of those WWE memories we were talking about, right? One of those big spots. Yes. Gunther versus Jay. They got to do something with Jay. You can't call him main event Jay and not.
Yeah.
Put him up there.
I mean, you could. It would be perfect because you could also do it. Jay can build up to that, and maybe beat Gunther the Raw or the Go Home show, the Go Home Raw before WrestleMania, and then on Friday he shows up, to SmackDown, and that's how Jimmy comes out. Jimmy calls him out. Jimmy Uso versus Jey Uso at WrestleMania, which is their dream match. It's a dream match for everyone. And not only is it a dream match of Uso versus Uso, but it's for a singles title. Like, I mean, because I think Jay and Jimmy at Mania is pretty much locked in. But I mean, Jay, they gotta do something with Jey Uso. Absolutely. Even if he's in the chamber and maybe he wins and Jey Uso versus Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. I mean, the Jey Uso can do anything at this point, and it is going to be a lot of fun to watch him continuing to be a singles superstar for the time being.
The fan base absolutely is loving where Jey Uso is at.
1,000%.
If they don't do anything with him, I mean, I got to put it into question Triple H is thinking at that point. You'd be a fool not to do something big with him.
Yeah. I mean, even like you could also do it Jimmy versus Logan Paul for the US title, and Logan drops it to Jimmy, and then it's Jimmy and Jay for the US title. I mean, they could do it. That match, I think, will happen, and it could be for a singles title. It could just be a non-title, but I think it's going to be fantastic to happen at WrestleMania, and they both deserve it without a doubt with what they've been doing Jimmy. I mean, Jimmy is over just as much as Jay with what he's been doing on SmackDown, being that comedic part of the bloodline with him and Solo, and then even him and Roman. It has been so much fun to watch from 2020 to now with both Usos, and the bloodline as a whole. So going from there, that was after that. We got the backstage segment with where they showed Andrade signing to the Raw brand, and then Pierce and Aldis they went back and forth, and then ultimately he walked out of the office taking a phone call from Braun Breaker. So who knows where that's going to go? That goes into the Intercontinental title match with Kofi and Gunther. It was a great match. It's fun to see Kofi kind of back in singles action as well. Ultimately, Gunther pinned Kofi, but I mean it's leading. I feel like it's leading to Imperium is going to keep ganging up on the New Day, and then ultimately, whenever he's ready, that's how Big E comes back.
Yeah, so I like the direction they're going with them. I feel like New Day and Kofi, I think they're ready to take that next step.
Yeah.
Yeah. More than just the Kofi clause and the holiday
Bootios and unicorn,
right.
Whatever. And yeah, they're ready to be a more serious, tag team.
Yeah. I mean, they're extremely talented.
Yep.
They've got the experience. I mean, they said Kofi Kingston, that was his 16th Royal Rumble. I mean, at some point you got to give these guys a serious push. I know DIY is up there, competing with Judgment Day, but give the New Day a shot.
Exactly.
Give them a serious push. Especially if you separate those titles. If you don't unify them and you separate them, right?
1000%. Yep.
I mean, they're right there. So but then again, the whole tag division seems to be right there. You also got the Creed brothers.
Yep. They are fantastic. And I mean, the future is absolutely it's bright with the tag division. And yeah, absolutely. Let the New Day take one set of the titles, DIY the other, and then, the Judgment Day, they do the split. Finn versus Damian, Finn and JD versus Damian and Dom. I mean, the possibilities for the split there are endless, and then eventually that's how Dom gets over and turns face, where he turns on Priest and JD, or however the way they do it.
Dom going face. I don't know if anybody's ready for that.
Well, not this year, maybe not the next year, but within the future, definitely, because he's getting more matches under his belt, and he eventually will get to speak on the mic and not be booed out of the arena. I think that it's got to happen again, where him and Ray, they make up, and before Ray retires, I think they'll have another run as the tag champs.
I mean, yeah, I would love to see that. I think it will be quite some time before we ever see that. Just because even now in his young career, like, he gets so much heat as a heel.
Yeah.
It's right up there with some of the greatest heels of all time.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up in the Attitude Era with some of the best heels, like Triple H and Rock, and and I've never seen any of them get booed so loud, get so much heat.
Yep.
They can't even talk with a microphone.
Yeah. And Earl has said that he's been at, Madison Square Garden when Dom is getting booed, and it's not piped in like everyone wants to say that it is. It is
Right.
100%. He is getting booed because people hate him, and he's doing great stuff with it. I mean, I also, while I do think that eventually it's gonna flip, um, Logan Paul and Dominic Mysterio as a tag team would be absolutely fantastic.
Oh, that would be
Um,
great.
it but the way they both make people hate them is it's hilarious. And I mean, Dom is just he's becoming his own person in a ring, and I love it. Whenever he came in, started, and I think the reason they were going to do Brock and him is because that's how he got involved in actually being, a WWE superstar. Was Brock pulled him in from he was behind the barricade as a fan, and then he pulled him in, and then that's how Dom got into, eventually signing with them. I'm sure he was probably signed before that, and it was just part of the story. But I think that's why they were going to do Brock and Dom to bring that full circle. Um, and going off that, like, full circle type thing from that again, the men's tag division being in such a good spot with potentially Logan and Dom, to back to the women's tag division with the Tegan Knox and Natalya versus the Kabuki Warriors, back on, Raw. It was a okay match. Natalya, just I'm not a fan of her. I don't think. I mean, Tegan Knox is doing great stuff. She was awesome on main event. Um, when I was at the Raw back in Hershey in May and saw her. Um, Eventually, I think Tegan can kind of break out from Natalya and her mentorship, which I'm sure she's learning a lot and everything. But I don't know. I just don't see the greatness of Natalya. But the tag titles in the women's division, again, I couldn't stand them, and now they're kind of getting back to okay. The matches are watchable, but we went from that one to, of course, Bayley and talking about the Rumble, and then Nia Jax came out, Rhea came out, that whole thing went down, and then it led into her saying what we talked about. She's going to choose tonight. Um, it, I mean, I thought maybe they were going to bring in Jade and have her be part of it. Um, where do you see Jade going brand wise, and how soon before she's, in that main event, the title picture?
So, first feud, Jade Cargill, Nia Jax. That's what I want. That's
Yeah,
what we need. Um, she's going, I think, to Raw. That's where Nia Jax is.
yeah,
So she's going to go to Raw. That feud is going to start. Because nobody has just picked up Nia Jax and just
yeah,
tossed her over the rope like
yeah,
that. And just you saw her face at the Rumble,
yeah.
total and utter shock. Like,
Becky's face was
right.
fantastic.
And I think while Nia Jax is the unstoppable force and would
Yep.
be a tough match for Rhea Ripley, I think they got a good taste of what the fans were looking for when Becky came out and
Yeah,
challenged Rhea Ripley.
yeah,
And the fans lost it.
yeah.
They loved it. I loved it. Granted, I'm a Becky Lynch fan. I
Exactly.
may
Me
be a
too.
little biased, but when you've got arguably one of the greatest women wrestlers of all time versus Rhea Ripley, who's
Hmm.
just an absolute dominant force, and I mean that's ingredients for a great cake. Bake
Yes.
it, bake it, bake it. WrestleMania, boom.
Yeah.
Rhea, Becky, WWE moments right there, memories.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter who wins that match. Everyone's going to love it. So, and I think the only way you do that is by a Jade Cargill Nia Jax feud. And I think that's a great way to start Jade in the WWE as well.
Yeah. Yeah. It
So,
shows that she is, a star, and how they present her, which I loved it from what they were doing before she debuted at the Rumble to her debut at the Rumble. I mean, the reaction from the crowd was fantastic. The reaction from Michael Cole was fantastic. Her and the Nia Jax spot, absolutely incredible. But I think what they're gonna do, they're definitely Nia and Rhea are gonna have their match one off or whatever, or even go into. They could do it at the Chamber again. Who knows? But Jade and Bianca at WrestleMania.
That would be amazing as well. I'm sure.
I mean, those two at WrestleMania, with or without a title on the line, sign me up. Take my money. I think that's the way you go, and then you can have. I mean, you could even throw in Nia Jax into that match and make it a triple threat while Becky has Rhea, or Becky, Rhea, Nia, and then triple threat, and then Bianca and Jade. You could do it any which way. I was never a big Nia Jax fan, but with what she's been doing as she's come back, I will say she's gotten better for sure. Seems to be safer. And I mean, who knows which way they're going to do it, how they're going to do it. But I mean, I don't want to change the channel whenever Nia comes out anymore. So she must be doing something right. And yeah, I still think Jade and Bianca would be the main event worthy without a title on the line at WrestleMania.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you got two powerhouses right there in the women's division between Bianca and Jade Cargill. I could definitely see a Nia Jax versus Rhea at Elimination Chamber. Go ahead and get that out of the way.
Yep.
And let's say we do have a triple threat at WrestleMania, right? So we've got Rhea, we've got Nia Jax, we got Bianca Belair. Maybe Jade Cargill comes in, pulls a solo, and takes out Nia Jax. And then it's just Bianca and Rhea essentially. So I think that'd be a great route as well. I really, with all these players in play, you really can't go wrong.
Exactly.
Ultimately, I think the biggest draw at WrestleMania would be Becky versus Rhea. But I could definitely see Bianca and a Jade Cargill match going extremely well, too. So he's got a lot of options. So this Triple H here,
can
go a lot of different ways.
And what we said earlier in the show about WrestleMania starting at 5, with the pre-show, my guess is that they're going to have a lot of matches. Hopefully, they kind of have the standard pre-show where they talk and do the media stuff, but then they also have the pre-show matches, and maybe they do the battle royal and Nia Jax is in that, and she just absolutely powers through that, and then the winner of that gets a title shot. So that's how she goes from losing twice to Rhea up to WrestleMania, and then she wins another shot at WrestleMania, but this time it's for Becky. So then we get their second match, and then you can still do Becky and Rhea. You can still do Jade and Bianca, and Nia Jax still looks like an absolute powerhouse, waiting for whoever wins that title, and then going forward, whenever she wants to have that rematch for the women's title, boom, you're golden.
Yeah, there's so many different routes that Triple H can go with this, especially with WrestleMania being 2 nights. Now instead of just a Sunday pay-per-view like it used to be. Excuse me, I'm aging myself a little bit here, but the 2-night premium live event, he's got a lot of options, and it's not unheard of to have someone in one match each night. So, it'll be interesting to see what he does with that.
Yeah, I mean, it like you were saying about how it used to be, one night Sunday and pay-per-view, whatever. The Rumble this year, the Rumble was the 5-year anniversary since I started watching wrestling. So that was the first event that I watched, like with the WWE Network. So I never did a pay-per-view for WWE. It was always I paid $10 for the network, and that was it. but then WrestleMania 39 or 35 was still one night. So I did get to see a one night WrestleMania. And it was like, I think it was like 15 matches, and it felt like it went forever, but it was so much fun. I was invested the whole way from start to finish with Seth Rollins and Brock to Kofi and Bryan Danielson, or Daniel Bryan. And then, of course, the main event, triple threat with Becky winning. And then, the next year they did the 2 nights because of COVID and all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, 2 nights, it just gives everyone a chance to be on the show. And it has been incredible watching both nights the last couple years. And I'm sure this year is going to be the biggest one yet. And how they're going to top, 38 in Dallas, I don't know, but we're definitely going to find out. And maybe going into the main event of Raw before we, preview SmackDown and then wrap it up. Drew McIntyre and Sami Zayn was the main event. Drew got the win. As he should. They're building him to, like I said, possibly be Seth Rollins' opponent. Maybe they do a triple threat with Sami Zayn, Drew McIntyre, and Seth at WrestleMania. All 3 guys deserve that moment to be in the main event. Sami Zayn getting a world title would be absolutely incredible. And then it would kind of set Drew off even further. But, especially because his contract is up close, I think, to WrestleMania. So is Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch. The Drew McIntyre heel turn going into what he's been doing has been awesome. And I will say I fell asleep right before the main event started, so I didn't get to watch the match, but I'm sure it was a great match because both those guys are fantastic in ring. And that was Monday Night Raw. So we will I'll get your final thoughts on that, and then we can preview SmackDown and wrap this up.
It was a great match. Drew McIntyre versus Sami Zayn. It went kind of as I expected. Nothing spectacular or crazy out of the ordinary really happened, but McIntyre got the win. I've got a little bit of disdain right now for Sami Zayn, and it's a little bit of a ridiculous reason why. But we were talking earlier about the Rumble and the surprise entrance, and Hogan came out on that promo a couple of times and was like, "Hey, maybe I got one more in me." And then we get all the way to 30, and I'm like, "This is it. Hogan's coming out. I'm going to see him one more time. This is going to be the great surprise entrance." And then Sami Zayn comes out, and I'm like, all right, well, let's just go ahead and continue watching CM Punk and Cody Rhodes."
Exactly.
I was just extremely. I mean, Sami Zayn's a great wrestler, and he's an athlete, and he cuts great promos. But man, did they build that hype up, and I was sorely disappointed because he is not a Hogan. And I did not expect him to win the Rumble at all. So, I was like, I was a little glad that he lost. I was like, that's what you get for disappointing me. So, but overall, great show. Really looking forward to SmackDown tonight and getting the final decisions. So,
we will. There's not much so far for SmackDown. What is promoted on the website is Roman and Cody will have their face-to-face. So that's going to be huge. And then Logan Paul again will be on. Logan Paul's journey to SmackDown following the Royal Rumble controversy. I mean, who knows where he's going to go next. Hopefully they start to build toward his match at Elimination Chamber because he will be on that card. And then Bayley will declare who she's going to challenge at WrestleMania. I think we both have said that it's probably going to be Io, and I guess we will find out here in about 30 minutes. This has been episode 53 of the Sleeper Sports Media Podcast. I'm joined again by Josh. tell the people where they can find you, and then yeah, we will. I'm sure we'll talk about SmackDown as it's going down.
Well, if you want to find me, you can find Lace 'em Up Sports pretty much anywhere and everywhere that's on social media, on Facebook, on Instagram at Lace 'em Up Sports Talk 1 for Instagram. You can follow my YouTube channel, Lace 'em Up Sports Talk with Josh Frazier. It comes up, I think, pretty much right off the bat now when you type in Lace 'em Up Sports. So go follow me on YouTube, Instagram. I'm on Twitter. X now.
Yeah, X.
On X, and of course on Facebook. So yeah, absolutely. I love being on your show and doing these, recaps for PLEs, premium live events, and just for Raws and SmackDown. So thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
I appreciate you coming on, and yeah, I mean, 2 weeks in a row where getting an episode out, and hopefully soon I can journey on over to your program, and we can chat some other stuff and whatnot. Keep doing the wrestling thing, but jump into other conversation. Maybe updates on how both of our football teams disappointed us, but that is a conversation for another week. And yeah, with that's going to wrap up episode 53, and I'll see you later tonight for SmackDown in the watch along. If you want to jump in that and join me and Hunter, I believe he's going to be doing it with me. We will I'll get you the link, but yeah, that's going to wrap it up. So good night, everyone. I'll see you next week, actually later tonight and next week for episode 54.